Hello, my friends. This micro training is on teaching students how to review for a test. So, how do we review as adults for an exam or for a test or for something that's coming up? We prioritize where we will spend our time and what we need to review or learn or memorize or relearn. And we need to intentionally teach this skill to our students. This isn't something that just comes. This is a moment when we as teachers need to sort of step back and say, wait, what do I do when I take a test or when I face a test? And many of you have done ITEP and other things, other professional developments where you perhaps needed to take a test. You know what you do. We need to think about how can we teach our students that. This is one way to do it. I hope it helps you spur other ideas that are even better. So more than just doing a review sheet of problems, here are some ideas. First thing we could do is give the students a list of the learning objectives for the test. We know what learning objectives were for the chapter, the day, the week, the unit that we're working on. Let them know what were the specific learning objectives. And then have the review problems on the sheet tied to the learning objectives. And have the students focus on the learning objectives that they're unsure of. So how might this play out? Okay, so let's say these are the learning objectives for the test. We want students to use index notation for numbers with positive integral indices. We want students to use index notation for numbers with negative integral indices. We want students to use prime factorization to explore cubes and related cube roots. And we want students to use divisibility tests to obtain prime factorizations. These were the learning objectives of this unit, let's say. These were the 4 learning objectives. Okay, so we let the students know the learning objectives. And then, this is just one of the objectives. Students use index notation of numbers with negative integral indices. This was the second learning objective. And if students, when they think about that learning objective, they think, I need help on this topic. Well then, they're going to go join the study group for that topic. There are 4 groups because there are 4 learning objectives. They're going to go be with those students who need to review this. They're going to ask questions of the group leader. Maybe we chose a group leader who really knows what they're doing on this, or 2 or 3 to help tutor these students who really need help with this idea. And we want the student to ask questions of the group leader and other students until they're confident in this learning objective. And perhaps they need to review the rules, make study cards, and practice with a friend until they know the rules by heart. And they need to do all 5 practice problems on the review page that involve this. Okay, maybe the student says, I can do this type of problem most of the time if someone reminds me of the rules. Okay, here's what we recommend they do then. Review the rules, make study cards and practice with a friend until they know the rules by heart, and do practice problems 3, 4, and 5. 1 and 2 were just the rules. They just need to practice 3, 4, and 5. Or what if they're in the 3rd category? I think I can do these, but I want to practice a bit to be sure. Just do practice problems 4 and 5 on this. That's all. Don't spend, if you know this, you don't need to spend your time on it. And we're communicating how to make that decision and what it looks like. And what if I know I can always do these problems correctly? Well, then you can skip all the practice problems or do number 5, the hardest one, just to be sure. So they can just check that off, feel good, move on. That's one way this could play out. Eventually, students should be able to create their own review exercises based on the learning objectives. Eventually, we should just be able to give them the learning objectives and they can say, oh, I know this. And so I'm going to go look for the 2 hardest problems in my homework, say, and make sure I can still do those. Or I don't know this, I need to go back and review that whole day's notes and do everything else and get with a study buddy. They need to start directing their own lives and their own study and know what that means and what that looks like. I hope these ideas were helpful for you. Take care.